I want to get the high. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
There.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to a teacher show. Morning.
Morning.
Okay, today we have a very important expert. She is going to talk about an approach that she has developed in classrooms. Please welcome to Miss Sandra G.
Bravo, bravo.
Hi everyone.
Hi, how are you? Hi, fine. How are you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to your show. It's a very interesting show because it's especially for teachers. So thank you everyone who is joining us today. Yes, today I'm going to talk about the whole language approach.
Okay, Miss G, as I know, there is not a universal definition for whole language, but what does the whole language promote?
Well, the whole language approach emphasizes that children should focus on meaning and strategy instruction. That means focus on learning the complete meaning of a word instead of breaking down a word and learning the phonetics.
Okay, great. What are the main bases of this approach?
The whole language approach strives to teach children to read words in whole pieces of language. That means that children do not learn to break down sounds individually, but to take words at face value and associate them with prior knowledge. This means this can be a little confusing for you guys, but this approach is influenced by constructivist theory. It says that children draw from their perspective and prior experiences to form the framework for new knowledge. So this means that children don't break down sounds individually of a word, but they associate the whole word with their prior knowledge.
Well, that sounds really interesting.
It is.
Why do you consider that this approach can help people to acquire a second language?
Well, the whole language approach, Ceci, could help the learning process to be easier because they're associating a word with a concept. For example, if a child sees the word dog written enough times with a picture of a dog, he or she will then associate the word in its entirety with the idea of a dog. They relate the word with the image, and if they are constantly seeing the word, they will associate it and they will learn the word without breaking down the word like the phonics, the famous phonics that are important. But this approach tells us that children could learn better learning the whole word instead of the sound of letters.
Okay. Ms. G, do you think that this approach has to be taught as a whole, or it can be combined with another method?
I think, Ceci, that's a really good question, because we as teachers sometimes wonder ourselves, should we, if I read this approach and I think it's good, should I use it every time? I say no. I say we should first get to know our students and see how they learn, and not to marry to only one approach, because we can exploit, all the benefits that each of these approaches has.
So we have to get the best from each approach.
That's
right?
what I think, yes.
Great. How students learn with this approach? Can you share with the audience a strategy?
Yes, I can show you guys a strategy. I have a video for it. But first, I would like you guys to see a little bit what I'm talking about. Maybe this is a little bit confusing, but okay. I invite you, audience, to try to read this text over here. Go.
Come on.
According to research,
Cambridge University, it doesn't matter in what order the letters in the word are. The only important thing is that the first letter be at the right place. The rest can be a total mess, and you can still read without a problem. This is because the human mind does not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole.
So maybe by reading this, you can understand a little bit what I'm talking about. We can learn the word without. This is what this approach says. We can learn a word without practicing the sounds of each letter. Okay, so many teachers use this approach as a method to reading, to teach reading to kids. Here's an example. I don't know how this works. Let me go get a computer.
there.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, you got the YouTube to work and I didn't. I don't know what I would do wrong with my, when I inserted the link.
Good. You're good at this, Ceci.
I try to stay away from using real books in the beginning when I'm teaching a child to read because they will have a lot of words that they haven't learned the rules for yet, and that can become confusing. We want to go slowly and step by step. So therefore, it becomes necessary at some point to generate your own handmade books. Now, if you don't want to go through all this trouble, you can do this in your workbook, like everything else in your notebook, and you can just do it step by step. But I find it's neat to make these little things. You can make them very quickly, and you can slowly develop a library of them and keep them on a shelf. And it also teaches a child the proper way to take care of a book if they mess it up. It's not like they're ruining a book you paid for. And the way we do it is very simple. Take 8.5 by 11 basic copy sheet like this, fold it in half, staple it, boom, boom, boom. If you get a long arm stapler, you can make it look professional and staple it right along the seam, but you don't have to. And simple, title it, give it a simple picture, use your creativity, but most importantly, use only the words the child has learned up until this point. That'll limit you, and the story won't be Shakespeare, it won't be John Grisham, but it'll be a great story for that child learning to read. Start very simple. A cat sat. There's your picture. Just throw in a little picture so they get some kind of sense that, yes, I read it right, look at that. Now mix it up. A dog ran. Notice I didn't say a dog sat. We want to mix it up a little bit. If you use the same words on every page, or even the same types of words, then they start to try to guess, and they're not really trying to sound out. And then we can move on. You can get a little more complicated. I usually won't do 2 lines until a little while later, but you can say a big rat was on the dog. Silly picture. Notice every word here is a word you can sound out, except for was and the, which are non-phonetic words that we also learned through our flashcards. And you can go on until the end and just create your own, make it as fun as you like. I usually take about 3 sheets, makes about 12 pages altogether, or you can do 4 sheets and have 16 pages.
Okay, so what this teacher is sharing with us is an example of how can we use this approach with our students.
What about the audience? You, as teacher, would you like to use this approach in your classrooms?
You can raise your hand and participate with us. No one?
Of course, I find it very interesting.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, how could you relate this with the lexical approach?
Well, first of all, I would like to share Some of the difficulties that you might find using this approach is that some teachers, by using this approach, forget to or could leave behind the importance of phonetic awareness, phonics, reading fluency, vocabulary development. There are so many parts when you're teaching that are important. So if you use this approach, don't forget to also let your students know that it's important to, to pronounce it correctly. So, we can prepare students to have this as much as knowledge as they can, not just like, I don't know, say, oh, look, this little kid is so young and he already can read this book, but he memorized it maybe. So it's a good approach, but we have to use, we have to combine, other approaches.
Okay.
And with the lexical approach, it's something similar because in this approach, we teach kids or someone else to read by like chunks of words, not just a word, but maybe a text. And you keep practicing and practicing, and maybe in a daily basis, a person that is learning this new...
An example of chunks, it could be when you go to a restaurant and you learn how to ask for food or something like that.
Yes, that could be a good example. Your teacher taught you how to ask for a burger, for example, and you practice and practice this whole dialogue, these chunks of words, and you can read them, you can pronounce them correctly, you can say them fluently, but it's just that. If the conversation starts to get bigger, then you will be lost because you only learned how to say just that dialogue. That would be
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Ms.
No, thank you for inviting
It
me.
was very interesting to hear you.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.